You were created to live fully alive. Jesus made that clear when he said, I came that they might have life and have it to the full. Living fully alive means that you are lacking nothing. You're full. You're satisfied. Can you imagine a life where you wake up every day living more and more like this? Well, that's what Jesus says that he came to deliver. My name is Brian Phipps, and I've been on Jesus' fully alive journey since I was 19 years old. And it's been an adventure because there was a lot of living much less than fully alive in my life to overcome. I was, for example, jealous and insecure. I had no sense of purpose or direction. I had a short temper. I was developing a string of broken relationships. I had grown up in a church, but something was missing. And this promise from Jesus caused me to wonder what he meant by living fully alive. And even more, I wanted to know how I could start living that way. Well, I'm glad that I leaned in because over the last 36 years, Jesus has helped me overcome so much. The debilitating insecurity that threatened my young marriage has been all but eliminated. Jesus helped me overcome my anger and become more gentle with my kids. My low self-esteem was replaced with a genuine sense of courage that's allowed me to make some bold career and life decisions. The journey has not been easy, but even the most difficult of times, with Jesus' help, have produced the most fulfillment in the end. And Jesus invites you into the same adventure. He invites you to start the adventure today. Whether you're 19 like I was, or 59 like I'll be in a few years, or even 9 years young, it's always wise to invite Jesus, the master of the art of living fully alive, to lead you as soon as possible. Why is that the case? Because living fully alive is so much more than just a Christian idea or endeavor. Living fully alive, honestly, is the remedy for the human condition. A remedy for the human condition. Humans don't default to being full, do we? We all sense a gap in our lives, a sense of lacking, and we strive to fill that gap every day. And some of our efforts work, at least for a time, but some efforts, if we're honest, leave us even more empty. What's the nature of this gap? How can Jesus help you fill it? That's what we want to help you answer for yourself in this experience. And to do so, I want to ask you 2 questions. And I believe that you and everyone else in this world ask these questions of themselves at some level all the time. And by bringing these questions to the surface, you're going to begin to understand the nature of this gap that we're talking about, this lacking gap. And understanding the gap is the first step to knowing how to fill it and to begin to live more fully alive. So question number 1, am I lovable? Am I lovable? Am I experiencing genuine intimacy? Am I vulnerable and exposed to those closest to me? Do they really know me? Will I ever be able to give and receive love in a way that is beneficial to everyone around me? Well, here's question number 2. That's a big one. We're going to go right into number 2. Am I valuable? Am I valuable? Is there anything about me that others find meaningful and valuable to them? Is there a purpose for my life? Does my life matter? When I get to the end of my life, will I have big regrets for what I did not do? Well, early in my personal journey, these 2 questions, am I lovable and am I valuable, actually haunted me. I hated them because my answers to them depressed me. I wasn't lovable. My insecurities impaired my ability to love and receive that love in return. I did not feel valuable. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life, and I couldn't see how I would ever add value to the world. Well, how do these questions affect you? Do they haunt you the way they did me? Are you tempted to stop this video even because you would rather not deal with them? I would understand if you were. But before you do that, consider this. What if Jesus came to fill those gaps? What if Jesus came to help you develop meaningful relationships that last? What if Jesus came to help you discover the unique way that he crafted you to partner with him and making the world a lot more like heaven? Well, that's what Jesus has done in my life, and that's the adventure that Jesus is inviting you to take. And the first step in that journey is understanding why we ask those two questions in the first place. In short, we ask the question, am I lovable? Because we were created for intimacy. That's going to be a word you hear an awful lot. We were created for intimacy. We were created for these relationships. We were created to love and be loved. And we ask the question, am I valuable? Because we were created for influence. Influence. And we see these two things in the opening chapter of the Bible. In Genesis 1, verse 26, we read, God said, let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness. So the first thing that we see here is that God is saying that He's made us in His image and that He is relational. It says, let us, God said, let us make mankind, not let me or I will make mankind. God here is plural. And you, a person created in God's image, are a relational being as well. You're hardwired to belong in life-giving relationships. You're not designed to be alone. You are not at your best if your relationships are not healthy and life-giving. You were created to thrive in relationships. You were made for intimacy. The second thing that we see in Genesis 1:26 is that God is an influential God. He created everything and He has authority over it. He says, let us make mankind in our own image. And because you were made in His image, you were created to have influence as well. You're hardwired to make things and to make things better. And you experience joy when you help others. You'll feel dissatisfied if you don't know the unique way that you can make the world a lot more like heaven. And to drive this home, God commands us to live in a way that reflects our shared identity with Him in the very next verse. It says there, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and govern it. Do you see it there? For Adam and Eve to be fruitful and multiply, that requires intimacy. Governing the earth requires influence. He creates us in His image. Then He says to act out that image in the world. You were created in God's image. And since God's nature is summed up in two words, intimacy and influence, then your identity is as well. It's no wonder you ask the questions, am I lovable and am I valuable? Well, what does this teach us? Well, it teaches us that living fully alive is the process of learning to live a life of intimacy and influence. So, let me posture this question to you. Is this journey something you want to embrace? Is this the kind of life that you want to live? If so, the next 4 sessions will provide a framework to help you start to live it. In the next session, you will learn why it is so hard to live fully alive. In the remaining sessions, you will learn how to partner with Jesus to start taking those steps to live fully alive. Well, the reflection exercises coming up will help you make the most of this journey, so be sure to engage them. And for the best experience possible, consider inviting at least 2 friends to join you in this journey. If you're doing this as a group, there's notes for how to do that in the experience as well. We'll see you in session 2.